set up early. Uh-oh, what a
Here comes Barsha. Boom! The crowd don't like it. The crowd do not like it.
Hello, Albert here. This is a highlight video from Salt Lake City Supercross. I did not go, didn't feel like going, to be quite honest. So watched it on TV. This is a breakdown talking about all the highlights that my editor Jack decided were relevant enough to be in this video. I will do my best to, I have not watched this video yet. The idea of these is it's sort of a raw reaction slash analysis. I'll do my best to explain to you how and why. And maybe it will help with your guys' riding as well. If you want to send in your own footage to be analyzed, go to the motoacademy.com, subscribe to the club. You guys can send in your riding footage on a weekly or a daily basis, which is pretty cool. So make sure you guys check that out. I'm also giving away my 125 Supercross race bike, that KTM that you saw me on for a couple of rounds. All you have to do is go to tour.themotoacademy.com. All of this info is down in the description of the video as well. Every dollar you spend is an entry. So you sign up for a class, that's 250 bucks, that's 250 entries to win the bike. We have a brand new merch drop on there and a whole bunch of stuff that you guys can grab to earn entries for this bike. All right, so here we go, Salt Lake City 2022. I'll say right away, this track did not look like one that I would have loved. Now, okay, poor Jet here, but I talk to Jet all the time about his outside foot. His outside foot placement is what caused this crash. If you watch it in slow motion, he goes to the rear brake, and then when he's done with the rear brake, he rotates his toe outward and he just lets it hang. So when he goes to compress to get the compression and rebound coming out of this turn, he didn't know his foot wasn't on the peg, and he should have known that. So that is a little bit on Jet. He needs to make sure that when he's done with the rear brake, the foot goes back to the balls of your feet, putting pressure down so that this type of stuff doesn't happen. The reason his hand blew off is because he compressed and unloaded with so much force into his butt when he thought it was going to be in his foot that it just ripped his hand completely off. That took a lot of strength for him to pull out of that the way that he did. So good on him for not making it too bad. This is what happens when you jump whoops when people have been skimming whoops. So Mosman is trying to land in a pocket that's been really chewed out, and his tire or his suspension compresses and unloads a little bit too quickly, and he just gets wheel spin up the last foot of the takeoff, which then not only causes him to come up short, but it also throws him into a little bit of an endo. Again, he handled that pretty well. It would have been worse if he had just got his front tire over. This situation with Hunter could have been avoided. I would say, like, this being the first heat race of the night, you have to expect that with it being an open stadium, it's going to be really slippery. So for him to try to make a pass there was just a little bit impatient. I think if he had to do it over, he wouldn't attempt that line because it didn't seem like, maybe he thought 30 was going to back out and he didn't. So Hunter was just forced to sort of lay the bike over. But you have to try to hit the obstacles straight. When it's that slippery coming at anything sideways, it's like trying to cross a log going across it diagonally. It just doesn't work. No idea oh, this is just the pass. So this is skimming versus jumping. Skimming will almost always be faster, although guys like Malcolm Stewart and a couple guys were really jumping those whoops well. This is a good run through the whoops for Faulkner, so good on him. And where skimming versus jumping really became evident in the difference was in the Futures race. For those of you that watched the Futures race, watching Chance Hymas skim the whoops versus DeFrancisco that was jumping, skimming is always the better option. So if you're trying to become a pro Supercross rider, learn how to skim whoops. It will pay off. It's a good skill to know how to jump them as well, but knowing how to skim whoops is an absolute must. And a lot of the younger kids coming up are not super good at it yet. It takes time, it takes experience, yes, but skim those whoops. That was a good pass. So there was two options here. The only person I saw go to that inside rut and double out of the very inside was Anderson. I don't know how he did that from the inside rut. Otherwise, you were left going inside roll double versus outside double single. It was actually kind of a cool section where it seemed pretty even to do either. This is how a pass should be made in this turn, by the way. Hopefully Jack has the shots of Barsha trying to make a pass on Stewart in this turn, and it doesn't look like that. This was chaotic. So I don't know who ended up transferring through. Man, 7-Eleven probably could have done a better, oh no, yeah. He tried to go left and then he realized that Moranz's bike was going left, so then he tried to go right, but it was too late. Those whoops seem tricky because you're trying to slow down where you need momentum to go through whoops. So as soon as these guys are slowing down in the last 2-3 whoops, they're getting all out of whack. Oh, we got some just fly teammates. Oh, and I know the feeling of going down in an LCQ when you know you're in a transfer spot. And these guys, although look at the lead they have on everybody behind them, they don't know how close anyone is behind them. So panic just immediately sets in, and you just try to get back to the bike as quickly as you possibly can. So I was actually kind of laughing when I saw that in person because I can relate to that feeling. So this is Craig, the Supercross suspension being really stiff. Watch, normally you would land in this pocket here and your suspension would compress down into the stroke and you'd actually get some traction. With his setup being so stiff and this corner being so slippery, the bike doesn't compress at all. So what it wants to do then is just wash out. And you watch Craig drop the inside elbow. As soon as the bike starts to slide, inside elbow goes, the head goes, and then you end up on the ground. So the laps after this, if you watch him, he tried to be extra proper and keep the elbows up and really sit more upright to make sure that didn't happen. Yeah, feet, just kind of poor foot position. I couldn't see what caused this, but you see Vince has his toes pointed out quite a bit and both of them kind of simultaneously fall off the foot pegs. Did his goggles fall off? Oh, his goggles just popped, the strap popped right off. Crazy. Yeah, both feet, I mean, that's why, again, foot position is so important, because if you don't know where your feet are, it's very easy for them to slip off the pegs. You always have to check in and readjust and get your feet back into position. So here's Stewart. That Husky, I will say, and Stewart's always had great corner speed, but that bike just allows him to go in the inside ruts so easily. And the brakes, the Brembo brakes on those KTMs and Huskies are so good. You'll see guys like Webb, Muskin, Stewart riding the lower rut much easier than a guy like, let's say, Roxon, who relies more on flow going around the outside. Here's a beautiful pass by Malcolm on the inside. Beautiful. And Barsha didn't hit that turn slow by any means. I mean, Barsha railed the first 50% of that turn as well. Got hung up a little bit because his foot dragged in the rut. So it screwed up his exit a tiny bit, but Malcolm, great job getting that foot high and tight up and out of the way. Off the rear brake super early too, which is cool. Stands up coming out of the turn, so he's able to soak up the double like crazy instead of seat bouncing it. And then here's the thing everybody's talking about. My opinion, you shouldn't be T-boning people. I mean, I at least will say Barsha is consistent in the fact that he doesn't really apologize and say, oh, I screwed up, I won't do it again. He sort of just admits like, listen guys, this is the way that I ride. Now, Cincerello made a great point on the broadcast in saying that anybody can make a pass attempt like that, which is true, because it's a cheap shot. I mean, it doesn't take any setup, it doesn't take any thought, it just takes all right, I'm gonna go for this guy's jugular and just see what happens. If he were thinking, he would have been like, okay, well, I have probation. If I T-bone him right now, even if this works, and I end up beating him, which it did work, and he did end up beating him, I'm gonna get docked, so why would I do it anyway? And Malcolm, you know, looking back, probably should have maybe expected that was coming, but it just shouldn't really happen. Rub-in is racing, sure, but a straight up T-bone, Supercross is dangerous enough. We don't need guys T-boning each other. Like that's a good aggressive pass. Super aggressive, he purposely jumped over a couple ruts to make sure that he had the spot. But by the time he made contact, even though it's, let's say, 80% of the way through the turn, he's parallel to Webb. He's not coming at him completely perpendicular in T-bone fashion. That's rubbing, right? They gently make contact. Webb is forced to let off. He has space to let off and go to the side. Was Webb happy about that? I'm sure no. But that's how you make a pass in Supercross. So good job, Muskin. He was riding really well also. A track like that, although not one that I would want to race because there's a lot of 90-degree turns, which makes it really awkward and hard to get momentum. Made for pretty good racing. For the last round of the year, usually when guys are really complacent and just sort of like, all right, let's get to outdoors already, that was a super exciting race. So love to see it for the sport. I'm excited for outdoors. Can't wait to do these highlight breakdowns for outdoors as well. let me know what you want to see. Let me know your opinion on the Barsha Malcolm Stewart incident. Check out the motoacademy.com. If you guys want to train with me online or in person, you can sign up for the tour as well. I have a flight to catch to Vegas, so I'll see all you guys at class in Baker, California, I think it is, Sandy Valley MX, and then I'm gonna catch a flight tomorrow night after class to Reno, and I have a class at 95 Motorsports, I think it's called, in the Reno area. So I'll see you guys early next week for those of you that are gonna be there. And I think that's it. All right, well, toodaloo.